Hey, we're going to be looking at XLB. This is a spider index fund. XLB is tracking the materials sector, and I'll be honest, this sector is very new to me. Um, if I were to pull up the top 10 holdings, I am unfamiliar with all of these. I started looking at LIN, which is Lindy Company, but this is all about let's see, the industries are chemicals, metals, and mining, paper and forest products, containers and packaging, and construction materials. So I would have thought this was going to be like Lowe's and Home Depot and Caterpillar and uh, stocks like that, and maybe that's included in this index. It's just they're not the top 10 holdings, and I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with really any of these uh, except for Lindy, which I'm starting to learn about, but everything else I'm very new to. That said, we still did a technical analysis of this, at least initially, and this one, uh, I got a little bit fancy with this one. Uh, you can see we had a long term uptrend in this one, and then all of a sudden, after our pandemic in 2020, that initial drop, it really accelerated. Which, if this is materials like I kind of think it is, of course it's. I guess it's in terms of the supply chain. You know, when I was expecting the Lowe's and Home Depot and that type of those types of companies, this is probably the companies that Lowe's and Home Depot buy off of. So they're buying off of these guys, which then feeds into Home Depot and Lowe's, which, as we know, that's more of the consumer discretionary. So this is the person before them. So if this one starts to fall, I have to imagine the companies like the Home Depot and Lowe's, they're going to start to fall. So something to think about as we look at this. But um, so what we did, we saw this uptrend, long-term uptrend, probably back from 2009. That seems to be the trend with a lot of these indexes. And then once the pandemic hit, then it really took off. And so if we zoom in, we now have this accelerated uptrend in purple, which kind of is a continuation of the long-term uptrend with, again, the acceleration factored in. And then we drew in this gold one, which is more parallel, I would say, and it really focuses in on this range from the low of 2020 up to it getting back to um, a stable point, and then carrying it into the today's values. So it's we didn't really consider this mainly because due to the fact that it pulled back the way it did, we have to just, at least I'm going to say that this must mean it was overvalued at this point. And so right now we're in the middle of that trend. And in fact, we're right at the green line, which has acted as support for a handful of periods, mainly in 2021, so the more recent times. And because we're trying to look at these charts now on a 2 year spread as opposed to a 3 year spread, but of course factoring in those long-term trends into our just technical analysis here, we cracked that support line and currently at 75. So we're at the bottom point. We clearly cracked it. Um, so if I were to just update this here off on, it's not on the screen right now, but I'll share it with you in a minute. We looked at this one about 10 days ago. So yeah, this one seems like it's. I mean, it's too early to tell. Is this one in a downtrend? Uh, we could argue that, but it's just too. It's too early to tell for me personally. But if this one continues to fall, I think one point that would be interesting. I mean, right off the bat, I'm just going to say this one, for me, is at a point where I'd be interested in buying this one. I think the next point of interest would be probably around like 73, which again, that's we're only talking like $2 here. But again, because this is a smaller stock, $2 for this one is maybe like 3 or 4%. So that could take some time. The next point of interest would be all the way down to about 69, about 69. So to go from 75 to 69, I mean, that's about 10% move. And clearly it's capable of making such a drastic turnaround in 1 week. It literally just did it 2 weeks ago. So a move like that could happen. I think a scary point or like an ultimate buy point would be the 67. So I think, if my ideal position in this one would be to create a position of 4 shares in this one, uh, the ideal type of transactions I would like to do would be buy one, Monday or Tuesday of next week, assuming I have the resources available. And then if it continues to fall and if it comes down to about 73, maybe I'd buy a second one at that point, because who knows, that might be the resistance point as tracked by the lower end of our gold trend uptrend. And if it continues to break through that, then we'd go to our purple uptrend, which is the really long uptrend going back like 10 years ago. And that point, at least for next week, would be about 69. That would be another point of interest for me. If it breaks below that, I think the ultimate stopper would be 67. I would think, only because it did act as support back in October of 22. That doesn't mean it'll stop there. It seems like that would be a decent time to show some support, but this one might be in some trouble. It might be. Maybe people are going to stop building. It clearly was in high building type of phase for a while, and now it's just pulling back to reality. So I think this one is a good one to slowly buy into. We'll see how it plays out over the next couple weeks and probably the next month or two, depending on how quickly things kind of appear, I guess, for us. But yeah, those are just some points of interest that I'll be looking at right now. I think it's a good point. So I think what we'll do is we'll mark out a couple points. So we have the 77. We'll say 73 and 69. We'll see if it touches multiple points. I mean, it's already in the first point. We'll see if it hits another one or two of these points. And yeah, so that's how I'm seeing it. So no real changes here for now. It's too soon. I feel you could still, yeah, I'll just leave it at that for now. So all we did here was we added in this point. So we just updated it to, right now it's at 75. Buy points were 77. So it's below that. So it's definitely worth a buy to me at this point. Just 1 share, if anything. If it continues to drop to like a 73 or less, maybe add in another. 69 or less, there's another buy point. And then the ultimate would be if it comes all the way down to like 67, which if I'm buying in those $3 to $4 intervals, none of those are off the table for right now. So we'll kind of see how it plays out. But at least for me right now, going into the coming week, I think right now is a decent time to buy. It's lower than our green line. It's still within the uptrend ranges, and it's getting closer to that short-term uptrend. And I think that'd be a solid time to buy too. I do think this one will continue to pull back. Not sure how much it'll fall back, but overall I think it's at a fair price. And again, if we zoom out to the quarterly, we can see this one is it's a grower. It's just similar to the utility sector. It's just you're not going to get crazy growth. I know this is kind of, we can't really say that considering what we just saw in like 2020 and 2021. We saw massive growth in that 2 year stretch, but now you're seeing it's getting pulled back. I think we'll see it kind of, like if we were to carry this line out a little bit, I don't know if it'll let us. Not quite, but if we were to do that, you can see we're kind of in that uptrend, so it was clearly overvalued there, and now it's just pulling back. And so we'll just kind of set this one back in. I think it's right about here, right around there-ish. And then this point, if we were to grab this one and stretch that out, we'll just kind of see how this one plays out. We're probably due to update the trend lines here just a little bit. But yeah, maybe next video we'll kind of update that. But for right now, we'll keep it this way and just see how it plays out for the next couple weeks. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'd be happy to read that. Otherwise, again, this is what we're seeing. The material sector currently at 75. I think it's worth a buy today. I'd probably add a position in this one, and then I'd look to build on it, dollar cost averaging in as time passes, see if we can hit these lower values. I think this one's a good one to hold long term. Of course, it's not going to be rapid growth, but slow consecutive growth, and for those reasons, I think it's worth starting and creating a position in this one. But yeah, so please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.